friends, I thought it would be fun to cover a few new products I purchased today. The Haus Labs Color Fuse Glassy Blush Balm and the Benefit Hoola Wave Cream Bronzer. Allow me to explain. I knew about the Haus Labs release as they announced they were adding 4 catering bronzer shades to their Glossy or Color Fuse Glassy Balm lineup. These shades were specifically formulated to deliver more of like that blush, bronze, sun-kissed type of a glow with that glassy balm formula. And the Benefit product launched on April 1st totally went by my radar. I had no idea. And while I am deeply in love with the luxury beauty, Benefit does hold a special place in my heart because they were one of the first like mid-tier, more expensive makeup lines I encountered as a teenager. And ever since then, I've just been fascinated by how the brand has evolved and seeing the different types of products they continue to develop. And I had no idea that Benefit released a cream bronzer format for their Hoola Bronzer, one of the most iconic bronzers I still think to this day. The minute you read Hoola, I speak for myself. I immediately think Benefit and bronzer and how I wanted that color to desperately work on my skin tone, but it did not. It was mostly popular because it was more like a contour shade because a lean, neutral, cool, and even though they wanted to make it universal, it was not really, but they released more of their Hoola bronzer shades. And I remember I filmed a video going over, I believe it was the caramel shade, which was like a yellow tone on me. And there was another one, I can't quite recall, but I picked up the shade medium deep. And this is described, well, let me pull up the product page, hold on. So the entire Hoola Wave lineup has 5 shades. Currently, the light is sold out as well as the deep. And again, I purchased the medium deep shade, which is for cool undertones. I looked at, or actually, I swatched here, the original, the medium deep, and the deep. From the swatches, although the medium is said to be for warm undertones, I thought it looked quite yellow on my skin tone and thought that my Victoria Beckham bronzer brick took on a similar hue and figured, let me not buy something that kind of looks the same as my Victoria bronzer. And I decided to go with medium deep because even though it says for cool undertones, I like that there's a little red in there and thought that would be a fun shade to play with and one that I could pair with my Jumbo Dior bronzer that I most certainly can swatch to compare. So we'll take a look at that as well as how medium deep looks up against the Skin Suede from Simi Hayes Beauty. I have this in 03 Oak. This definitely is more of like a dead-on neutral. If I were to get Hoola, this will be my Hoola, but a much better match for my complexion. And fresh out of the box, we have the Haus Labs, and my apologies for not giving the price details. I'm all over the place. The Hoola Wave Cream Bronzer from Benefit retails for $36, and I believe the Haus Labs retails for $34. Yes, I was correct. Now, I am familiar with the Glassy Balm from Haus Labs as I own 2 shades, Glassy Lilac and a Glassy Tangelo. And yes, guilty as charged. I haven't been using these products. I decided to get like the most extreme colors because I thought it'd be interesting in this format. But the minute I heard they were coming out with like bronzy type of blush shades, you know what I'm gonna say, sign me up. I bought 2, I know, so greedy, Glassy Cinnamon and Glassy Cayenne. I also swatched these in store just so you could get an idea of how everything looks, and I'll make sure I'll post, as I did with the Benefit swatches, the names against each of the swatches. Glassy Cinnamon is the beige peach and Glassy Cayenne is the deep rose. So out of all the 4, I decided on these 2, and allow me to crack into Glassy Cayenne, which, as the description read, deep rose. And here, you can see how beautiful that color is and just effortless for me to wear as a one and done, but will also deliver that bronzy effect. And Glassy Cinnamon The beige peach, can't stay away from peach anything. Again, this is Glassy Cayenne, Glassy Cinnamon. I love both and had to get both. Was I overdoing it? 100%. I wanted to go through the comparisons first, if you don't mind. If you wanted to head over to the demo, I'll have timestamps down below. Let's first swatch Hoola, the medium deep shade here at the top, so we could have a reference. Simi Haze Melting Bronze Balm in 03 Oak. See how there's more of like a neutral muted tone to the color. Both are pretty, but there's a little more red in the Hoola. And I wanted to also swatch Danessa's Blurring Balm Flush in Creme Brulee. This is like a toasted almond and has a lot more red, but you can kind of detect from the textures how the blurring balm has a little more wetness upon the initial swatch. It of course dries down to a powder, but definitely I feel more of like that balmy texture from both the Hoola. A slightly drier texture than the Simi Haze Beauty Skin Suede. It's quite interesting. The Hoola, it's almost like a dry touch. It is very creamy though, but I think the consistency feels slippy. Like, definitely I would think, based on how this feels on my fingers and how it's blending, it will blend down to more of like a powder finish. A sheer buildable bronzer balm with a soft matte finish. Okay, that's what I detected from the feel. Blends seamlessly and provides up to 12 hours of staying power. Not bad. Of course, had to grab Westman Atelier's bronzer drops. I have this in 03 Soleil Parfait or Soleil Parfait 3. Definitely a lot more liquidy. And yeah, kind of likens to what's going on in the Hoola. You can see how Simi Haze looks so neutral compared to all four of these. Not gonna lie, I'll be more inclined to use the Hoola over the Westman Atelier just because there's less to do. The creamy balm versus dealing with a liquid product is just easier in my opinion. Here it comes, the Jumbo Dior Bronzer. I know a powder and not a cream or liquid, but this is just to see compared to the color. This is an interesting color from Hoola, I gotta say. It's like red but neutral, almost like a muted tawny, and there's a lot of red here from the Dior bronzer. That almost looks a little orange, which is not what I swatched. Hold on. I felt that's not what it's supposed to look like. Maybe my other swatchies were interfering or are interfering with the shade. There we go. Is that a little better? No, it looks the same. Perhaps it's just my imagination. But let's move on to the mini Dior. This is in 04 Matte or Warm Matte. Definitely a little more neutral on my skin tone. And then we have the Hermes bronzer in 04 Cayenne, which definitely leans a little warm, or one of my warmer leaning bronzers. And of course, we have to go in to our beloved VBB bronzing brick. This is in 03, and why I didn't pick up the medium shade from Hoola, because this is exactly, in my opinion, what the medium shade in the Hoola Wave lineup looked like. It actually looked more yellow. And I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. Why I love 03, because there's a little bit of yellow, but it's not so upfront like the medium shade was from the Hoola Wave. This is why I picked medium deep instead. Could be a good choice or not. We shall see. And allow me to now go over the blush balm comparisons. Let's kick off this comparison with Glassy Cayenne. Of course, I'm doing this with my left hand, so it might be a little awkward. Sorry in advance. I'm going to do it here because I have better control. Barely. We have Glassy Cinnamon. That is not straight, Alicia. Have to go in with VBB's Cheeky Posh Cream Blush Stick in mini skirt. That's definitely, wait a minute, hold on. This kind of looks like Glassy Cayenne. I'm not gonna lie, but maybe Glassy Cayenne a little more muted than mini skirt. There's definitely more of like a reddish berry tone to that shade, which is why I love it. So maybe this is a dupe, and perhaps I didn't need to buy Glassy Cayenne, but it's okay. And had to swatch Mother's Divine Blush Legendary Glow Color Balm. So many names, because Sun-Kissed Seduction is one of my most favorite shades, and you can see this has a lighter color offering than Haus Labs, right? Haus Labs, they're both balmy types of products, but the Legendary Glow from Mother definitely has more of like a watercolor effect, and you definitely will have to build it up if you wanted more color payoff. And now with Danessa's Blurring Balm Flush in Spice Latte, which I consider to be in the bronzer category, and maybe kind of resembles Glassy Cinnamon, but there's a little more warmth in there if you could detect it. All right, now that we have all these swatches and comparisons wrapped up, it's time for you to come in a little closer for these demos. On my face, I have Suku's foundation in the shade 040 with Burberry's concealer 85MC and lightly set with Prada's Reset Balancing Powder, the Universal Mint shade. And on my lips, I have Victoria Beckham's Posh Lipstick in Pose. It might be a little too cool leaning for when we get to the bronzer shades, but maybe I'll keep it on for the Hoola. Now, I have a bunch of brushes to use and probably would go in with Sonia's Mini Buffer just based off how this might be a little too deep for me. I doubt it, but for instance, allow me to explain. If I went in with Bobo's Chikuhodo Baby Owl brush, this probably will pack on a little too much color and it could run the risk of appearing muddy on my skin tone. So that's why I just wanted to play it safe and use a stippling brush. It's a mixture between natural and synthetic fibers, and this first layer allows the product to be diffused well, so it's not a heavy serving of product on the cheeks. I would personally take it straight from the balm and then brush off some excess off the back of my hand and go in through the hollows and whip it from hollow around the brow and house pin. Where's the house pin? Continue around the forehead. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I like that. Let me look at the mirror. Hold on. The application is virtually effortless. I mean, I felt that right from the swatch. It has almost like a dry slip to it. It's creamy, but it's not so much of a wet type of a creamy consistency, if that's easy to understand. I'm sorry. But the coloring is even, but the application is even, and it doesn't feel sticky. It actually feels lightweight on my skin, and I like the structure it provides, but also that little tinge of, I want to say red, but that's probably not the right pigment in there. My color science friends, help me out down below. It's not completely neutral is what I'm trying to get at, but I enjoy this, assuming I would more than the yellow tone medium shade from Hoola Wave. Do you know what I mean? Now, we can experiment with a denser brush. Like, if you're my skin tone, but you like to pack it on. Okay, so we will take a denser brush and, you know, that's not bad. That's more color, but it doesn't look muddy. This is a good product and it's fragrance free. Yeah, it smells like product, but when I apply it on my cheeks, I don't smell it from myself. Oh, this is a good product. Man, I should have known about this because I would have thrown it in the basket during the sale and get 20% off, but it's okay. Wow. I can't get over the undertone. I knew it when I swatched all of them, and this is something I'm trying to get used to doing when I visit a Sephora, because I'm not going to get all the shades, right? But I can at least swatch all the shades on my arm and grab a photo for all of you so you have a better idea. And I might adjust the coloring on the picture because Sephora lighting is atrocious, and the high ceiling overhead lighting naturally casts a shadow down below, so it was hard to capture a true to natural light setting with the photo. But nevertheless, I'm happy I chose medium deep because, again, it is a delicate balancing act between choosing a bronzer color that can still look bronzy on my skin tone and not veer over the edge of contour, which is what the Semi Haze kind of does for me. And I don't mind that. If I wanted to go more cool tone with the look I'm trying to achieve, I most certainly will purposefully reach for this shade, because I like to think of or build my makeup look from foundation up. And if I were to plan on a cooler eye look, for instance, if I wanted to use Visear's Lila, I would probably grab Givenchy's Prisme Libre in my, I think it's 4.5N, or Prada Reveal in MN60. So those are my neutral, more cooler leaning. I would say Givenchy is more neutral golden on me, versus picking something warm that could possibly clash. But that is kind of like how I structure my looks. But man, I can't get over how good the medium deep shade looks. And I like the compact. It's not super luxe, but I dig how they try to design. I guess this is supposed to be sand or replicate sand, or maybe the sunset, like the rays of sunset rising from the coast, whatever it is. It's cool. It's lightweight. It doesn't feel as luxe as this, for sure, like the Hermes, but it's fine. Sometimes I could forgive a mid-tier beauty product compact. I have a few in my collection, without a doubt. Don't mind it at all. I mean, that's the majority of my collection, because it's pretty much where I started, so can't knock that down. I would like to apply just one of the Haus Labs on the other side, because this is what I would like to discover: the capability of it providing bronzer and blushing effects on the cheeks. And with that, I probably will go with Glassy Cinnamon, because I think that has the most potential for that task. And much like what I did with the Hoola, well, actually, I'm gonna start warming this on the back of my hand. Okay, get in focus, please. Then use Sonia's mini buffer to pick that up and start in the hollows. Oh, I love this already. And I think this is a great way to kind of control the more dewy nature of this product, because it does look quite shiny when I take it on the back of my hand or when I rub the stick on my skin, but it doesn't apply as dewy and it doesn't disturb my foundation. Oh, that's pretty too. I like that. And you can also see from the close-up that the Glassy Balm, although naturally leaves a sheen behind on and around my lower cheekbone and higher cheekbone region, it doesn't look too slippy or slimy, for lack of a better word. I like the Glassy Balm. I think it's a solid product. I should use it more often. I think that was largely due to the fact I chose Lilac and Tangelo, where these shades, Glassy Cayenne, or more specifically what I'm swatching now, Glassy Cinnamon and Glassy Cayenne, are definitely more everyday and more effortless for me to apply than Lilac and Tangelo. And I can't speak highly enough of Sonia's mini buffer brush. I mean, this and her sheer buffer that released before, the smaller model, just godsend for these types of products. The even application, just the utmost security and insurance that these products will apply just seamlessly on the face. It's kind of insane. I'm upset about it. Now we have to see, okay, where can we go from here? I'm dying to find out, as I'm looking on both sides of my face, that maybe we can apply Glassy Cayenne on the Hoola Wave side with medium deep. And isn't it interesting how medium deep definitely has more of like a shadier effect versus Glassy Cinnamon? Glassy Cinnamon is stunning. I adore it. It definitely has bronzer vibes with a blush sensibility, with the sun-kissed look for sure. And not bad with the lip. But I wanted to throw on another combination, VVB's lip liner in 04, because this is more of like a red toned, with Suku's Velvet Fit in 01. It's like a warmish beige. Oh, that's a vibe. For sure. I probably did too much liner. I'm sorry. All right, back to the program. Let's go in with Glassy Cayenne again on the Hoola side. And in the same fashion, I will prep this on back of hand first. Now, If you are applying the stick on bare skin, I don't think it necessary. The reason why I insist on taking on this step is because I do have foundation on my face, and I figured with how balmy the stick is, when applying it directly to skin, you could run the risk of it moving your foundation just because how tight it is on the stick, right? Where if you warm it up, you have a higher chance of it appearing more even and smooth, right? So that's totally up to you. If you don't have anything on your skin and you're just going to stick to bare skin, then drawing it on and tapping with your fingers is by far the easiest way to go, especially if you want to take more of a minimalist approach. Let me make sure I wipe the mini buffer. And here I am using my left hand. And now we're pouncing and lightly striking. That's pretty. I definitely detect more of like that slightly pinky hue that exists in Glassy Cayenne. Definitely more muted rose. For sure. Not mad at it though. I do like how it looks with Hoola, because I think they both have a slightly muted undertone to them, even though the Glassy Balm leans more rose, where Hoola's Wave, medium deep, leans a little more, I don't even know, it's a mystery undertone. But the way they combine, there was no interference, everything still appears smooth. I love how that looks. Man, we're doing good. We're doing good. Have I found my summer go-to products? Perhaps. Now remember, when we're dealing with glassy, balmy types of la-la-las, naturally it's going to break down faster. So if you want to ensure that does not happen, if you have Danessa's Universal Balm, which is highly praised for its ability to combat excess oil and sweat throughout the day, so your skin appears fresh and the makeup doesn't break down, I would apply that product first, and then maybe the Glassy Balm on top, or maybe you apply your favorite pressed powder first and then slap on the Glassy Balm, because since it is more dewy, it will enhance the look of pores here on the center of your face, or my face. I'll speak for myself. It could enhance the look of pores there. So if we wanted to combat that, I will lightly go in with Prada's Rebalancing, right? So let's gently tap, and already that knocked down the shine and smooth the pores out. And we can go in with a little more if you wanted to see, okay? If you wanted even more color, then naturally you'll reach for a denser brush. Using a brush like the sheer buffer is going to give you a little more flexibility with the application naturally, where you could build up from sheer to medium. But if you want medium to high from the first application, you will use a denser brush. Now this is Tuckahoe goat hair and silver fox hair. Can be used with creams or liquids, but just make sure you wipe the brush gently after every use so excess product doesn't stay on the bristles. And that definitely laid down more color. It definitely makes me look super toasty on the center of my face, but applying the powder first will probably help the Glassy Balm stay on a little longer, ensure longevity or improve on the longevity, and have my more pore looking section, all puns intended on that one, look a little smoother, right? So that's a fine step to take. Here are some final close-ups from our demo, and I am pleased with this first impressions. I had no idea that the Benefit Hoola Wave Cream Bronzer will knock it out of the park like it did, and I am thrilled with my color choice because, again, I was bouncing between medium and medium deep. Happy that I swatched everything in store, because when I do the swatches side by side as I did, as you saw in the photo, it just helps me a little bit kind of deduct which one will be best. And medium deep for me, I think, is such a unique shade. I know I have a ton of bronzer, as I clearly demonstrated with all the swatches I did for the comparison portion, but this color, can we say it's like a rosy? You know how I love my rosy bronzy hybrids family, okay? But it's not a warm-ish, it's more neutral, but it doesn't look muddy. In my opinion, when I saw myself, I didn't detect any muddiness, but you can let me know down below, of course, as some of you like to do. And the Glassy Balm from Haus Labs, a product that I will now use heavily because these shades, specifically these two, Glassy Cayenne and Glassy Cinnamon, definitely leaning more towards Glassy Cinnamon to be my personal favorite, because you cannot deny, yes, the bronzing effect, but the fact that it has a little bit of like that toastiness to it that can serve both as bronzer and blush for my complexion, easy to throw on as the single product. And I just have mascara and brows on with the lip combo that I applied midway through. So like, this is a great kind of throw on makeup look just for my complexion to appear together, color lifted and vibrant without doing the most. And that's why I love these products. And unlike this approach sometimes where it's just kind of minimalist, yes, I have the foundation, but I also could go in with the tint, and I could experiment with applying the Glassy Balm sticks just solo on my skin, seeing how they could provide a little bit of coverage, albeit not a ton, because it's not that type of a product. I could probably get away with a little more coverage from the Hoola Wave than I can from the Glassy Balm stick. So that's something to consider, where I can slap on the Hoola Wave first on the hollow and then follow up either with Glassy Cayenne or Glassy Cinnamon. I think that'll be a fun combination. But that's about it. I just wanted to hop on here quickly and share my first impressions on these products. Again, I had my eye on the Haus Labs for quite some time, ever since those products released, and happened to bypass the Hoola Wave when walking in Sephora and was like, what is this product and how did I miss it? I have to get it. So let me know down below if you have any of these products, and if you made it this far, make sure you click that like button. It helps me tremendously in letting YouTube know that I am fun to watch and will continue to watch, and subscribe because more videos are coming, more demos and experiments, of course, and click that notification bell so you are alerted of those uploads immediately. And speaking about cool tone looks, I recently reviewed the Viseart Lilas Lumiere Attendu palette that Viseart was kind to send in PR. So if you want to take a look at the swatches and 2 demo looks that I created, I'll see you in that video down in the comments for this video, and on here again next time.